everyone, and welcome to Genre Flip. I'm Ben.
And I'm Erik. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
So, Genre Flip is a podcast where we take a movie of a pretty clear genre and then we flip it around and try to see if it still works in another one. Today, we are going to be talking about Toy Story. Everybody loves the movie Toy Story, a great kids movie that we're going to be making it into a horror movie. So the complete opposite of a kids movie, right?
Yep.
I guess porn would be the opposite of a kids movie.
Probably, but that wouldn't get released in theaters anymore.
So what do you think of the movie? I mean, is this, in my opinion, this is a childhood classic. Like, if you have not seen this movie, if you have not seen this movie, then you missed out.
one of the best animated films ever, I feel.
Well, I don't know. I didn't feel like the animation was all that amazing. And now that I'm an adult, I kind of noticed the fact that the people, especially, it was a little choppy. Every now and again, I noticed that with Sid's sister.
Yeah,
that she
and
was
Sid himself.
every now and again, her legs were like weird, and how every single character looks exactly the same is kind of weird.
Yeah, you do have to keep in mind that this is the first completely computer-generated animated film.
Oh, yeah,
so
you're right.
Before this, there had never been a feature.
Well, and the thing is, it still holds up because the fact that this movie was made like 20-some years ago, right? I don't know how long ago this movie was.
95.
95, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the fact that it still looks as good as it does, 22 years ago at this point, that's crazy.
Oh, yeah. I think the things that hold up the most are inanimate objects, like the environments, for the most part, still look pretty good. And the toys, the ones made out of plastic, all look fantastic. And the only things that really don't work anymore are the humans. They kind of work their way around doing any particle effects, so we don't really see those at all. And then there's Sid's dog, who just looks terrible.
He looks so weird.
It does help make him look more terrifying, though. That dog is scary.
It is a scary-looking dog. But I love the fan theories about like how everyone is the same or is some version of Andy, because they all look exactly the same. Mom, kid. The only person that I would say doesn't look the same as everyone else is the baby.
You know, I was reading the IMDb trivia, and I don't know how entirely true this is, but it says that every kid at Andy's birthday party is actually just the model of Andy, but they changed the skin tones on the other models and like made them wear different clothes, but it's all Andy's model.
Save some time.
Yeah, I mean, for most shots you only see their legs and their feet running around.
Yeah. Well, let's speaking of the characters, let's gonna jump into a character breakdown. Let's talk the main characters and discuss like all of the prominent characters in the movie and kind of set up like who they are as not humans but as characters. Right. Is it just me, or is Woody just a straight-up asshole throughout most of the movie?
He absolutely is. He is, I mean, one of the main themes of the movie is jealousy and insecurity on Woody's part, and so it makes sense that he would be kind of a dick, but he also comes across as a good leader at certain times. I don't know, maybe they modeled him after, like, a politician, where it's like, they're a good leader, but then behind the scenes, they're a dick to everyone.
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting because at the very beginning, he's the character who's trying to rally everybody together, make sure that they all know, like, hey, there's nothing to be worried about. And then all of a sudden, as soon as he feels threatened, he's just like, oh, fuck no.
I know.
Kids, like, yeah.
I love that for a major part of this movie. All the other toys straight up think that Woody tried to murder Buzz. Like, they just think of him as a murderer for the majority of this film.
Is this the most unlikable Tom Hanks character? Because I'm trying to think, and Tom Hanks is just a great guy in everything.
He plays a really shitty character in the movie Cloud Atlas. I don't know
really?
If you
I haven't
saw
seen that one.
I'm sure there's been some other things where he plays some villains or unlikable protagonists. He does a very good job of being likable while still being like a selfish prick for a lot of the movie.
I tell you who is always likable. Tim Allen is always likable in everything.
Oh,
he has
of
to
course.
Be, right?
Especially the Santa Claus starring Tim Allen. Easily the best Christmas
Tool
film
Time
of all
Tom.
time.
Oh,
there's a reference to Home Improvement in the movie. I don't know if you caught it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know.
When they're in Sid's room and Woody is trapped in the like milk crate and there's a toolbox on top, the toolbox has a Binford logo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the company from Home Improvement. I thought that was funny.
I didn't notice that. Throwing that in there for Tim Allen with Buzz. Well, since we're talking about him, let's kind of break down Buzz's character. He's obviously a character that is unaware of his surroundings. He is just somebody that is put in a situation that he doesn't understand, and in my opinion, is kind of the hero character of the movie. The character who is trying to make sure that everybody's happy. Not necessarily the protagonist of the movie, because that's still Woody, but he's the character he's the do-gooder.
Yeah, I'd say it kind of turns into a cotagonist situation where it's Woody and Buzz having to work together to make their way back to Andy's. Yeah, Buzz doesn't really do anything villainous in the movie. He's just kind of needs to learn to accept his reality that he's a toy, and then he goes through an existential crisis. This whole movie is just very very sad for Buzz up until he ends up accepting who he is in the end.
Right. And then, of course, he has the ability to actually fly, which was a big twist, of course, in the whole movie. When you look at it for what it is, the whole point is that Woody is trying to get Buzz to accept the fact that he's a toy, that he doesn't have these special abilities. But then it turns out in the end that he actually does. And Woody's like, oh, fuck, what?
It's weird because I don't think Buzz Lightyear is supposed to actually have the ability to fly, but like because he's so high up in the air at that point, he's able to glide. And even though I don't think that would be physically possible for that toy, because those little plastic wings are not going to support both a Buzz Lightyear and a Woody doll.
I guarantee you that there are people that whenever the toys came out for this, they would like throw Buzz Lightyear thinking that he would fly, and they would break it like on day one.
Probably. I bet kids like when he's jumping from the stairs trying to fly out the open window, I bet kids reenacted that at home and then had to bring it back to Toys R Us. Like, I don't know how it broke. The arm fell out. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess he tried to jump out of the upstairs window, and
He's
then
alive,
when he fell
I'm
from that
telling
height. Speaking of that part of the movie when his arm falls off, I mean, talk about shoddy like quality. Just like one time dropping the toy and his whole arm falls off.
I know. I wonder if that was supposed to be a thing, because some toys are made where they have arms and body parts that you can specifically pull out and replace with other parts. Maybe there's like a Buzz Lightyear robot arm that you can buy separately and then attach to him.
Maybe.
Double lasers.
Well, let's jump back to Woody for a second here and talk about that pull string on his back. Dude, talk about all terrifying statements that if I said any of those and I sincerely meant them in my life, I would be horrified. I mean, there's a snake in my boot, first of all, is like, take it off, man. What are you doing? Yeah. Someone's poisoned the water hole? What?
Yeah, Woody has had to deal, apparently, in his past life with a lot of horrible issues. He is the town sheriff of, like, an old western town. And if we learned anything from the amazing 100% on Rotten Tomatoes movie, A Million Ways to Die in the West, there are, in fact, a million ways to die.
I think that was actually based on this movie, based on Woody's character. I'm sure...
I think so.
That Seth saw this movie and he was like, "Whoa, man! I need to I need to expand on this universe." All right, so those are obviously the two main characters. Jumping into some of the other characters, like they aren't super fleshed out, but of course, I mean they're side characters, so they don't really need to be. Like Andy is just a totally regular boy. He's just run of the mill little kid. Oh, I like cowboys. Now I like astronauts,
Space Rangers.
Space Rangers.
He's like a very average kid living with his little sister and his apparently single mom. I don't know. They never really explain that in the film.
Where's Dad in this situation?
I don't know. He either ran out on... He was still around recently because he's got that baby sister who's probably like a year old.
That's true.
Unless Andy and his sister have different dads.
Here's what I think went down. I'm thinking that like the parent was like living a double life, like the dad, whereas like you know how sometimes you'll hear about situations where the dad will be like, "I'm going on a business trip," and then he'll be gone for a couple of days, but he's really visiting his other family.
Oh yeah.
I think it's like that, except the fact that he's just going to the next door, like like the next door neighbors.
Dude, Pixar theory. What if Andy's dad is also the dad of some other kid in another Pixar movie?
Oh, man.
And like his second family is like Boo's family from Monsters, Inc. or something.
Well, I mean, I could see it. They do look a little similar, Boo and and Andy, I guess, but maybe a little bit
I
similar.
mean, that might be
Mostly
a side
the fact
effect
that they're
of,
computer generated. Yeah.
right. They're both Pixar animated characters, probably
Yeah.
the same like conceptual artists.
So there's Andy, there's his mom, there's his little sister, and then of course you have the other toys. Is it just me, or do you feel like the villain toy of the movie is Mr. Potato Head?
Why do you say that?
So I feel like it's that way because he's the one that is trying to thwart the plans of the protagonist constantly throughout the movie. He's the only character that no matter at what point in the movie, he's always like, Woody is at the wrong. Every time.
True. Every single time Woody shows up and the other toys are like, hey, look, it's Woody. Mr. Potato Head's like, hey, Woody, fuck you. And then just ruins the entire plan that they have going.
I love the part where he takes his lips off and he's like smacking them against his ass whenever Slinky is talking about like how great Woody is and how he believes in him.
There are a lot of really good visual gags in this movie going along with the fact that they're toys. I love when Bo Peep is talking to Woody and she's like, oh, if you ever want to talk, I'm just a few blocks away. And there are literal toy blocks on the ground.
Speaking of Bo Peep, talk about a not very loyal girlfriend. I mean, at the very beginning, she's like all over Woody and how amazing he is. And then all of a sudden Buzz gets there and she's like, wow, I found my moving buddy. What the fuck, man? Talk about, like, you guys are all living in the same room together, man. Be cool. Be cool.
That's a lot of roommates to have in one room.
I guess.
I don't really know what the situation there is with Woody and Bo Peep. She kisses him at the end of the movie. She's like, oh, my hero, or whatever.
Well, I mean, jumping ahead into the other movies, I mean, it's clearly someone that he's passionately in a relationship with. Because in the third movie, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen that one, he's very sad at the fact that Bo Peep got donated to like another kid or something like that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and so like it's clear like that relationship is a solid one, or at least it should be.
By the way, there's a shot in the film that shows that Bo Peep is a lamp or part of a lamp. I don't really know how that qualifies as a toy. She's just standing on the base of a lamp. I guess she can detach. So
whenever I was a kid, I had a telephone that was also like a Goofy toy. And by Goofy I mean Disney Goofy. And it was a pretty cool thing. Like whenever it rang, it was like hook yuck, answer the phone or whatever. Maybe it's something similar to that. I don't know.
If I found that like in a Goodwill or something, I would buy that and hook it up. That would be my landline phone. I want a phone with a ringtone.
Who still has landlines, though? Let's just be real.
That is true. Everybody's got new age technology now.
I know, man. Times are changing. But back in the day when Toy Story was a new movie, everyone had landlines.
Mm-hmm. They were the future.
So of course you've got Rex, who his only qualification of him being in the movie is like, I'm trying to be scary, but I'm not scary. That's basically everything that he says, right?
Yeah. It all comes down to that. But he's really funny. He's like a
he's great.
character.
I'm not knocking on him at all. What are the other one? Oh, there's the pig, Ham, right?
Ham. Yeah, he's funny too.
Talk about a messed up name for a pig.
Poor pig. I love that's John Ratzenberger who voices Ham.
Yep.
I'm sure you've heard of this, but for anybody who doesn't know, he's Pixar's Good Luck Charm, and he does.
Oh yeah, he's in every movie, right?
Yeah, he does a voice like no matter how minor, he's just like, you know, if they have him in a film, Pixar believes, they'll have success.
The only movie that I can remember outside of Toy Story that he's in, I know that he is like one of the guys at the beginning of Up that is like trying to evict.
Oh yeah. Carl?
Yeah,
is his name Carl?
Yeah, I don't remember what his name was. But I mean, so those are most of the characters. Obviously, you've got Sid, who's still like, dude, talk about a fucking horrifying child, man. And where are the parents in this situation? Like, this kid is obviously playing with like fucking massive explosives, and the parents are like, sounds cool to me.
How did he buy what looks to be a firework that would be illegal in probably most states? Like, I know here in North Carolina where I live, it's difficult to get your hands on fireworks. You got to drive over the border to South Carolina to get the good ones. But apparently
but even then, I mean, that is like, I mean, it's like a heavy duty type of firework. One of which that like because you see it explode towards the end of the movie, and it like does like the classic firework, like the sparks kind of going everywhere type thing. Which I don't think you can even buy those in South Carolina, can you? I mean, maybe you can. Where do the professional people get them? I don't know.
Good question. I don't know.
But yeah, man, like, gosh, what a horrifying kid. And what an asshole of a brother, too. Like, the little girl's just, like, sitting there like, I got my dolly. Everything's great. And then all of a sudden, he just, like, rips it out of her hands, rips the doll's head off, and replaces it with a freaking dinosaur. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, poor Hannah. I know his parents are around. Don't we hear his mom talk at one point? Or we hear Hannah shout for her mom. And then I think it's his dad who's like, you know the room that Buzz goes in and there's the dude who's like passed out in the chair while the Buzz Lightyear commercial is playing? Yeah, so I assume that's his dad, and he's just, like, you know, sleeping or passed out.
What was that dad watching? I mean, because they don't really have toy commercials on adult channels. So is he just, like, sitting in there or watching some, like, little kids show? Or
yeah, he's watching the Disney Channel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that makes sense.
That promotional tie-in.
So you've got Andy's room, which is, like, the main place that is like that the movie mainly takes place in. You've got you got Sid's room, of course, where there's that like that low moment for Buzz, like that's where that point takes place. And then you got Pizza Planet. Those are the main locations of the movie. Is there any other places that I missed that are like places you got to make sure that you have for it to still be Toy Story?
Maybe Sid's backyard, because that's where the final confrontation takes place.
Yeah, would you say that that's like the climax of the movie, I guess, maybe?
Yeah, they frighten the shit out of Sid and just emotionally scar him for life.
Yeah, for sure. Well, since we're talking about it, let's kind of go ahead and jump into like the regular like plot analysis of the movie so we can kind of break this thing down to its core. Like, what are the core elements of the movie that we can then plug into a new genre so that we can flip things around and see if it'll still work as a horror movie. So let's go ahead and start things off with Act 1. What's going on in that situation?
Well, we first get to meet Woody and see his relationship with Andy. He is Andy's favorite toy. And after that opening montage with the Randy Newman song, we immediately go into Andy's having a birthday party. He's getting brand new toys, brand new gifts. And all the toys are freaking out that they're going to be replaced by these new toys. But kind of jumping back a little bit here, in that Andy Newman song where he's talking about how you got a friend in me or whatever, dude, Andy is rough with his toys, man. Like, at the very beginning, he ends up giving Mr. Potato Head to his little sister, who is then, like, smashing Mr. Potato Head into the side of the crib and, like, putting it in her mouth. And then Andy is carrying Woody and, like, throwing him, like, all across the room. He, like, puts him on a remote control car and then slams him into the wall. He slides him down the stairs. Like throws him across the room. Yeah. This kid is rough with his toys, man. He puts Woody on the banister railing and he just slides down and his face smashes right into the pole at the end.
I know, man.
I was thinking about that while I was watching it. I was like, does Woody feel pain in this scenario? Because at every other point in the movie, he does.
Yeah, every other time, it's like he is afraid of every other thing that's about to hurt him. But the fact that he's playing with Andy at this point and he's about to slam his face into a solid surface for the second time in this movie, it doesn't seem to faze him in any way.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to keep up the facade around humans, I guess, no matter what.
So they find out that it's the birthday, and all the toys, of course, are freaking out. They're upstairs. So, oh man, what are we gonna do? And then they send the toy soldiers out to be able to do some recon, figure out what's gonna be going on. So one of the things that I had a question about with this part is all the toy soldiers pause because they hear the mom coming, and one of the toy soldiers gets stepped on, and then the captain of the team or of the crew, like the head guy,
we never leave a man behind.
Comes over, he's like, yeah, but my thing is, if the toy can still move and like function in the same way, couldn't it put itself back together? Because it didn't, like, none of the pieces broke off. So since all these toys are alive, couldn't it be type of situation where they just kind of fix themselves?
I guess so. They don't really get into like the magical properties of how these toys are alive in the first place.
Is this one of those
Yeah.
things where it's kind of like Night at the Museum, where's there's that talisman or whatever it is that is keeping all of these toys alive, but only at night?
Yeah, something like that. Some kind of
Yeah.
fantasy mystical force.
But clearly, it's not just these toys, because as we see, Sid's toys are later on in the movie are also alive. So it's pretty safe to say that all the toys in the universe are also alive in this, which is
Yeah.
kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, what if some toys weren't of such pure intentions? Like
Yeah.
Woody is pure-hearted to the degree where he's not going to try and hurt Andy. At
Right,
least
because
he's
he
jealous of
all
Buzz.
all toys except for Buzz for some reason realize that they are in fact. Well, wait, Buzz even understands. Okay, that's something that I don't understand about Buzz's character. Buzz, he really believes that he is a space ranger, but still, whenever Andy comes into the room, he passes out like all the other toys.
Yeah, this is something that I've seen people talk about at various points ever since the first Toy Story came out. And my own like explanation for it in my mind is that like when humans encounter some kind of situation where they just act on instinct, you've got fight or flight. And I think with toys, it's fight, flight, or freeze. And I think
Yeah.
in these situations, like they see a human, they see a living being that wasn't initially an inanimate object come into the room, they just will instinctively freeze.
It's like when people say whenever you see a bear, you should play dead or whatever, and it'll go away. But that is
Yeah.
not true. If you see a bear, do not play dead. That's a free meal.
Is that really? You're not supposed to play dead?
No, you're supposed to make yourself as large as you can be and like roar at the bear, and hopefully it'll be scared off by your intimidation factor.
That's why I always bring a bear costume to the woods.
Right, because you never know when you're gonna need it.
Right. I totally don't just like the bear costume.
So, they all find out about the birthday party. The toys are, trying to do some recon, figuring everything out. Then, of course, he starts like opening all the presents. I don't even remember the other stuff that he gets. He gets like a
It was
lunchbox.
like, yeah.
Dude,
Lunchbox,
these
bed
kids
sheets.
are terrible friends. I mean, when it comes to like getting some cool birthday gifts for a kid, you don't get some kid a lunchbox or some sheets for their bed. What an asshole!
See, I feel like it's the parents who are buying the gifts for
I guess.
for their son's friend. And they're like, well, I don't know what toys he has, so it's kind of a safer bet to go with something that you know is usable and isn't something they already have. Like it's a
Right.
sensible gift. But yeah, as a kid, if you get bed sheets as a gift, you're like, I specifically asked for Buzz Lightyear with the robot arm. Where is it?
And that's the thing, and that's I guess the adult mentality. I mean, for me, if I was at the point where I had a birthday party and people were coming over and giving me stuff, I would not want a Buzz Lightyear with a robot arm. I would rather have sheets, or I'd rather have something that I could use.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're shopping for a kid, you got to put yourself in the mindset of a kid and be like, what would be something that I would think would be the coolest thing if I was their age, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
So the birthday party continues to go on, and all the gifts, a lot of them pretty crappy. Like, I don't think that he even receives one other toy other than Buzz Lightyear at this party.
Yeah. I mean, they probably just want to, story-wise, keep the focus on one new toy. Because if they introduced other new toys, they'd have to, introduce those to the other toys as well. And maybe Andy doesn't like them, so he just donates them to Goodwill immediately.
Was Goodwill a thing like over 20 years ago?
Probably. I don't see why not.
When did Goodwill start? 1902. Okay, yeah, it was definitely a thing.
Yes. little more than 20 years ago.
Yeah, just a hair. All right, so you got the birthday party. He gets Buzz. What happens after Buzz kind of joins the team, I guess, or gets back into the room?
Well, Buzz is set in the room by the kids, and all the kids just immediately run into the room. They're like, oh, cake and ice cream. like children.
Yeah,
they
man,
run
like
away.
he is so excited to get this cool new toy, and then he's just like, oh, okay, it's in my room now, okay, bye.
Yeah, he'll have a chance to play with it later.
He's a very responsible child. He's like, you know what? It's more fun to play with these toys when I'm when I can play with all of them by myself, and I don't want any of my friends to ruin all my toys, so I'm gonna play with all them.
It is weird. I wonder if it was Andy or one of his friends who just slapped Woody off the bed. This is where the spaceship lands, and just shoves it right where Woody was.
Woody gets knocked to the floor, and of course, fucking Mr. Potato Head is the first one to be like, "Whoa, look who sucks now, Woody, you dumbass."
What are you doing under the bed, Woody? That sounds like, yeah, Mr. Potato Head kind of acts like a grade school bully to Woody most of the time.
Yeah.
He's probably
Dude.
jealous that he's not number one toy.
Yeah, well, is Mr. Potato Head anyone's number one toy? Let's just be real. I don't even know.
True.
I know that they still make them, but they don't sell enough Mr. Potato Heads to actually justify selling it in the store. I know because I was trying to buy one for someone recently, and the only way that you could get it at Target is if you purchased it online and not actually in the store.
Huh.
Yeah.
I feel like Mr. Potato Head is a well-known enough toy that kids might want him. I had one when I was a kid.
I mean, it's not that it's not well known, but it's not like it's up with the times anymore. Since we had them when we were kids, I mean, 20 some odd years later, it's, you know, at this point, kids maybe are looking for fidget spinners or whatever the fuck kids are into these days.
They're looking for Buzz Lightyear fidget spinners.
Whoa, man, wow, it glows in the dark, Dad. I don't know why I said dad at the end there, but I guess kids are always trying to impress their dad. Because like Andy, not everyone has one.
Oh, of course. So sad. It's fidgeting with style.
I can't even remember what happens next here. Is this the point where... this is the point where Woody gets jealous of Buzz.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he can totally fly and how he's an amazing space ranger.
Yeah, all the other toys realize that, like, oh, this guy doesn't realize that he's a toy. And like, none of the other toys even try to talk some sense into Buzz. They're just like, oh, okay, I guess you're a real space ranger. All right.
I think it's a little bit more sarcastic than that, though. I think it's like, oh, I guess you're a real space ranger, aren't you?
I bet Rex probably believes Buzz is a real space ranger.
Yeah, he seems like the kind of toy that is just
bit of a hypochondriac, but I mean he takes people at face value and just accepts what they tell him.
That's what I'm trying to say. That
he's a good friend, that Rex.
Mm-hmm. You've got a friend in Rex, don't you?
Real cool, radical Rex.
Let's see. He flies, which, I mean, talk about convenience of all of the situations being exactly right for Buzz Lightyear to be able to, quote unquote, fly around the room. I mean, could you imagine if that bouncy ball wasn't there at the beginning whenever he jumps off the bed and just dives off and fucking smashes his face into the ground?
Head plant.
His arm falls off even earlier in the movie, and this is like his low moment. This is a short movie.
You could probably edit it together where Buzz jumps off the bed, and then you cut to the part where he jumped off the stair railing and he just smacks into the ground. He's sadly looking up at nothing. Does he? I forget if he like passes out at that moment, but yeah,
No, he doesn't pass out. He's just kind of like looking up at the great beyond, which is the roof of the house, where he's like, oh no.
Poor Buzz. But at this point in the film, when he tries to fly, it works out somehow. He bounces on that ball, he lands on a Hot Wheels car, or Matchbox. I don't know if they licensed an actual toy brand for the little car. Goes around a loop-de-loop, somehow latches on to whatever that diorama thing is up by the ceiling, and then lands perfectly on the bed, right beside the other toys.
All that doing is with his eyes closed, man.
Yeah.
What a cool guy.
It's very impressive.
The only one not impressed by it, of course, is Woody because of how jealous he is. And so this is like the inciting incident of the movie where he is the conflict. Like Woody has realized that Buzz is a threat to him, a threat to possibly taking over as Andy's favorite toy. And that is not okay for Woody, and that's when he starts introducing his diabolical plans to be able to get rid of Buzz Lightyear so he can remain the number one toy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the moment, he just sees the opportunity. Well, he hears Andy and his mom talking like, "Oh, we're going to Pizza Planet soon. You can bring one toy." And Woody's like, "Oh shit, this is my chance." He sees Buzz standing by the edge of the bed where somebody had fallen just a little while ago, and he thinks, "Oh, I'll take RC and I'll ram him into Buzz, and then Buzz will fall down, and Andy won't be able to find him." Haha. But then, of course,
speaking of RC, how is it that every other toy can move freely, doing whatever they want, but RC can only move whenever you've got the remote control?
That is true. Maybe he can move on his own, but the remote control just like supersedes his free
his own
will.
abilities.
Oh, poor RC.
And of course he doesn't have a mouth, so he can't talk and tell what Woody has done. Except that Mr. Potato Head knew immediately. He's like, "What's that, boy? Billy fell down the well?" Or whatever, like how people just know what the dog's saying. He is like vroom 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 or whatever, like broom broom broom, like car noises, and then Woody immediately knew that he knocked Buzz out the window.
I don't know. Toy logic. It works for the movie.
I love how in toy logic they thought that Buzz was dead. That by knocking him out the window, that he is now been murdered.
Yeah, I guess they just can't see him. It's weird to me that Buzz like fell down into the bush and then like I guess just didn't hear them calling out to him, even though later on when Woody and Buzz are even further away at Sid's window, they're able to hear across that distance and talk with the toys.
I think you're supposed to suspend your disbelief a little bit here for this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think that when Pixar is making these movies, they're expecting people to nitpick like every individual instance of where something may not make 100% sense. Whatever, man.
It's a fantasy movie where toys come alive.
Yeah.
Like you can't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you can't nitpick something like this.
So Andy ends up taking Woody because Woody is a good second best toy to Buzz. So he takes him with him, sets him in the car. What's the point of even taking the toy with you in the car if you're not going to play with him? Like, it's like, I'm going to take this toy and I'm going to set it right here. I'm just glad it's here with me, because clearly he doesn't even notice the fact that Woody's not even there until he gets all the way back home after Pizza Planet.
That is true. Yeah, my first thought is that he would take Woody there and maybe he's meeting some friends at Pizza Planet and they're like, "Oh, it's Woody, awesome." And they're like fans of that toy. But maybe it's like when you were a kid, like maybe even, littler than Andy, maybe you had like a teddy bear or something that you would take around with you, and even if you didn't play with it, it was just like a comforting kind of presence.
Yeah, but for me, it was something that I was always holding on to. Like, I always had it right there with me. It's not like I was like, "I'm gonna set you right here on the seat," and I'm gonna buckle you up for safety, and I'm not gonna talk to you or think about you until we get home, and then I'll unbuckle you and bring you back into my room.
Wait a minute, where's Teddy?
Yeah. So you have Buzz ends up jumping into the car, and Woody is like, "Oh, I'm saved because Buzz is back." But then Buzz knocks Woody out of the car and into the gas station parking lot area.
They fight under the car until Andy's mom comes back, and they end up just driving off, leaving Woody and Buzz behind.
So they fall out of the car. Everybody drives off. And then Woody and Buzz see a truck coming, and Woody's instinct, of course, is to pass out, which this movie could have ended in a fucking horrifically drastic way if that truck had gone even an inch further, crushing Woody's head.
It stops like a millimeter from Woody's face.
Well, I think, isn't it touching his nose?
Is it? It's too close for comfort, either way.
Yeah.
It's terrifying, and... yeah, I don't know why Woody doesn't just move, because he's got to sense, he's got to know that the tire is right there about to run over his face.
Oh, God, that's horrifying to think about.
I wonder if for toys, like, keeping up the appearance of being a toy when humans are around is more important than saving their own lives.
I guess, because he talks about how there's rules to being a toy a little bit later on. And how when they're trying to escape, he talks about how we're going to have to break some rules. They never really clearly define what, in fact, those rules are.
I would assume it's just the main rule being you're not allowed to animate yourself in front of humans, which, of course, they break later on when they're trying to get onto the the moving truck. I mean,
But
they're
I
in
think
plain
another
view.
one of the rules has to be the fact that you have to remember exactly where your human put you last, so that
Yeah.
you can return to that location, so that you can never allow anyone to know of the fact that you are actually alive. All right, so they Woody realizes that there's that truck nearby that's got the Pizza Planet on it. He's like, oh, we'll be able to get back to Andy this way. He convinces Buzz to go into the truck because it's got the rocket on there. So they get over to Pizza Planet.
It's very convenient for Woody that Pizza Planet is a restaurant like based around space travel. Because if that rocket
Yeah.
had not been on top of the car, I don't know how Woody would have convinced Buzz.
Yeah, and how is this in 1995 that there was a restaurant that cool? It is, or I mean, not even a restaurant, but like a place that is that cool. I cannot think of any place I've ever been that has like two armed robot guards that are like enter
Yeah.
whenever you step on the step close by. That's freaking crazy, man.
It feels like one of those things that's designed to just be a fantasy place that they know kids would absolutely love. There's a giant
Right.
rocket outside of the restaurant just off to the side, and it's counting down to a launch. So I don't know if they take if they take that rocket and like actually launch it up in the air somehow. I feel like that'd be too expensive. They got
I think
SpaceX.
so.
SpaceX is working with Pizza Planet.
Maybe it's one of those things where it just like it shoots out fog onto the ground and they're like, "Whoa, it's launching" or whatever, and then lights go all off on it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But so one of the problems that I have with their way that they are entering into Pizza Planet is the fact that Woody and Buzz disguise themselves in the trash. They have like Woody is underneath the cup.
Yeah.
And Buzz is inside of the
Hamburger
sandwich container.
thing. Yeah.
But how did how did Woody cut out the bottom of the cup, and how
That
did
is a good
Buzz
question.
cut out the bottom of the box?
Yeah, I was thinking about that while I was watching because the cup and box don't appear to be like crumpled in any way. I don't know. There are instances of the toys doing things in this movie that technically they shouldn't be able to do. It's one of those suspension of disbelief things. But like,
Yeah.
there are other moments like when Woody takes the Christmas lights and throws them across the entire gap between
Dude,
Andy and Sid's
There
house.
are a ton of instances where Woody has fucking superhuman strength.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he could throw those lights all the way across a little bit later on in the movie. There also the fact that he at the end he's able to not only take off the lock on the moving truck, but also lift the door.
Yeah. And yet, when they're trapped in Sid's room, he's not able to lift the milk crate with the toolbox on top of it. He has superhuman toy strength.
I don't know. He only can utilize it, certain times. I guess I don't know.
That toy adrenaline.
So so both Buzz and Woody are in Pizza Planet at this point. They, Buzz sees the container like with the claw, and he
claw
thinks it's a
toy.
rocket ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when he jumps inside of it to be able to see if he can take off, and that's when, of course, Sid finds them, and then they go back to Sid's place.
Mm-hmm. So now they're trapped in Sid's room, and I think Sid just kind of like leaves them out when he first brings them home. Does he torture them yet, or does he wait until like the next morning?
No, he doesn't torture them right away because he keeps them in his bag, and he kind of just drops the bag on the floor, and because immediately whenever he gets home, he takes the little sister's dolly, and then he tortures that.
That's right. Replaces the
Yeah.
head with the pterodactyl.
Yeah.
But I think Woody and Buzz do get to meet Sid's other like Frankensteined together toy monstrosity blend things, and they think they're cannibals for some reason.
I don't know how toys can eat, let alone eat other toys.
Yeah.
But I guess we can't. We don't really have to get into that. Well, those toys are horrifying. I mean, just the way that they look.
Oh yeah.
But
If you're a toy and you got approached by those, you'd be like, what the fuck are these things? Cannibals.
yeah, but there is some level of craft to them. Like the ability, like the fact that Sid was able to put them together in that way is like,
yeah,
it's a little bit impressive.
See, if Sid didn't like steal his sister's dolls and modify them, if he was just doing this stuff with his own toys, I mean, it doesn't seem like that. He's just a kid. He's playing. He might have like a bit of a messed up home life, but he's not like out there hurting animals or something. He doesn't know that these toys, can be alive.
It's still pretty messed up, just the situation, that the way that he appears in the movie is pretty terrifying. I mean, it feels like that kid's gonna grow up to be a serial killer,
We see don't we see him in Toy Story 3 just for a second? No,
Do we? We see Sid?
We kind of see Sid. I don't think we see his head. We see him from like the neck down. It's a guy who's wearing the same Punisher style skull t-shirt, and he's working as a garbage man, I think.
He turned his life around.
Yeah. Now,
how about it?
Maybe he takes, well, I guess hopefully by the end of this movie he's learned not to fuck with the toys in such bad ways now that he knows that they're alive. He probably gets war flashbacks whenever he sees a Woody doll or a Buzz Lightyear somewhere.
That has to be the moment that that's his turning point. That has to be the thing that really turns his whole life into a whole new thing. There's no way that he was still fucking with toys after that.
Yeah, Flip turned him upside down.
Anyway, kind of skipping ahead here, Buzz, he catches a glimpse of himself in the commercial. That's the low moment for Buzz, saying that he really is in fact a toy. He's not actually a space ranger. He one last time tries to see that he can prove everyone wrong by flying out the window. He falls down the stairs and breaks his arm, or loses his arm. His arm falls off.
Yep, and immediately falls into a deep existential crisis. He doesn't know who he is anymore, what his purpose is.
What was his name in whenever the daughter or whenever the girl was Mrs. Buttercup or something?
Mrs. Nesbit.
Mrs. Nesbit, that's right. So Woody, he gets a hold of Buzz. He uses his superhuman strength to throw the Christmas lights across the gap.
Mm-hmm. And tries to pretend like Weekend at Bernie's style with Buzz's arm that he is that Buzz is there with him. I have to point out this joke where he's like, Buzz, come on, give me a hand, and Buzz just throws his arm up there. There are really funny, genuine laugh out loud moments in the first Toy Story. It is great.
I'm telling you, despite the fact that the animation every now and again is a little skippy, this movie really holds up.
Absolutely, yeah. It might be my favorite of the trilogy, I think. All three are great.
Toy Story 1.
Yeah.
I do really like Toy Story 2. I don't know, there's something about it that's just really a really fun movie. But of course, I mean, this is a near perfect series. This trilogy is so good, in every instance.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, jumping back into it, they kind of quickly going ahead with the rest of the plot here. Buzz gets taken and strapped to a rocket by Sid. He takes him outside. He's getting ready to blow him up. Woody finds out that the other toys aren't actually cannibals. They're actually good toys that are, that are there just to.
They help reattach Buzz's arm.
They've got PTSD, man. They're survivors of all the shit that Sid does to them.
Oh yeah. There's that scene where Sid essentially interrogates Woody with torture techniques, he's using the magnifying glass to refract light on Woody's forehead.
Dude, what the crap, man?
It's scary.
I don't remember that part happening in the movie. I don't remember it being because now you realize that for the rest of the story, he probably has that on there. I mean, I know that he gets fixed up in the second movie, but I don't remember. I'm curious if they kept that the same in Toy Story 2, if at the very beginning that Woody had that dot on his head.
I mean, does he even still have that dot by the end of Toy Story 1?
I think he does, because I was paying attention to that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just a surface level mark, and Andy was able to wipe it off with a cloth or something.
Huh, maybe.
I don't know. Either way.
So Woody hatches a plan to be able to get Buzz out of the situation that he's in by revealing himself as a toy and revealing that every other one of the toys are all alive.
They freak the
like,
fuck out of Sid, and Sid
yeah,
runs away screaming.
That's like the climax of the movie, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
figure
that's the final confrontation.
Yeah, that's the moment, like that's the high moment of the movie where you're like, oh shit, things are happening, and then this whole time, by the way, we totally forgot to mention that Andy and his mom, everybody's all planning on moving.
Oh yeah.
And so the toys are freaking out about the move, and so the moving truck's there, and then the moving truck leaves, and so they are all racing to try to get back on it.
Mm-hmm.
On the truck.
Yeah, so they've known ever since they were stranded at Pizza Planet that, like, oh, tomorrow, Andy and his family are moving, so we got to make it back over to Andy's. They've got to chase the moving truck, which is already headed down the street, even though Andy hasn't found Woody or Buzz, his two most favorite toys in the entire world.
Yeah.
And his mom is just like, you'll find them eventually. I'm sure she's used to Andy just like losing toys under, I don't know, the car seat or whatever.
Or the toys running away, and she thinks that all of the toys are being lost constantly.
Yeah, kids lose their toys. It makes sense.
So then they go through like that whole series of events where they're running to get back onto the truck. Somehow both Buzz and Woody have superhuman speed to be able to get onto to get back onto the truck. Woody uses his superhuman strength again to be able to open up the truck, where we've seen that Buzz has sacrificed himself to save Woody, to stop the dog from tearing his leg off or whatever he was going to do.
I love that Woody takes RC out of a box and all the other toys are like, hey, Woody, you're back. And Woody just immediately shoves another toy out of this moving truck.
Yeah.
And of course, Mr. Potato Head is like, he's a murderer again. So they end up forcing Woody out again. He ends up on the RC car with Buzz. Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
I wish that I had an RC car that was that fucking fast, man. Like, oh my god, that thing is like weaving through traffic. Holy shit!
I think the moving truck must be going fairly slow for the RC.
Yeah, but
car
you
to be
figure
able to catch
every
up.
other they end up passing a car.
Yeah, that's true, and that's when it ends up running out of juice.
Well, then they use the lighter, and that doesn't work. Which I think it's kind of funny that they make a big deal out of the fact that they have the match on Woody. He's like, oh, thank goodness that we've got this, and then it doesn't even work.
Well, yeah, a passing car just blows it out immediately.
But then the reflection off of Buzz is what lights the rocket, and then that thing flies, and it turns out Buzz could fly all along, and then they fly back into the car. Happily ever after, right? So what would you say are the main elements of this movie? I mean, I think the birthday party has to be something that remains the same whenever.
Right.
The toy, obviously all the characters can remain the same. I think the locations should remain the same of Andy's room, the Pizza Planet, and Sid's house. We should have elements of all of those. What else should stay the same whenever we do our genre flip?
I would think that character relationships to each other can stay pretty much how they are. Like, Woody is the top toy, and then Buzz is coming in and kind of replacing him, and Woody is jealous and dealing with his own insecurities. But we need to flip it. We need to give it that horror genre touch. So I think we need to change, maybe give a reason for how these toys are alive in the first place. Like, maybe it's not a thing where every toy on Earth is alive. Maybe, Woody is the original toy, and he had a curse put on him, like a Child's Play sort of thing, where he's alive, and then he infects the other toys, and then they're alive, and they, I don't know, feed off of Andy playing with them.
Okay, so it has to do with the fact that that Woody is the ultimate toy that is still alive, and that's why he's the top dog. That's why he's not necessarily Andy's favorite toy, but that's why he's the leader of the other toys, because he's the alpha. He is the one that caused that started it all.
Yeah, so he is leader of the other toys, and he can be even more of a dick than he was in regular Toy Story. He's like, I brought life to you. You will obey me. I am the leader of the toys. That kind of thing.
But unfortunately, being around Woody means that all other toys come to life, and he has no ability to turn off that. Because I feel like that power would be way too overpowered. Because, I mean, if he just got, tired of somebody, he could just be like, all right, you're dead, boom, and just, stopped.
Yeah. So he's got the power to bring them to life, but not the power to kill them without actually like
Right.
ending their life via physical means.
Right. So what is causing his ability, or like what is sustaining? Is there like some sort of battery or some sort of resource that is being used to be able to sustain Woody's and all the other toys' ability to stay alive?
I think it could be like when Andy plays with them, it like they feed off of his life force. It's kind of like it's kind of like a vampire, but they don't have to bite him. It's just when Andy plays with them, he's like recharging their batteries. And whenever Andy does that, he gets like more sick. He gets like pale and sickly, and he's like taking days off of school. And his mom's just like, "Oh, he's a kid. He's getting sick from other kids spreading the germs around."
What if like at this point like Andy is like a really sick kid? Like this is his last birthday, you know, and Andy's mom is like talking to the other parents, and he's just like, "We don't know if Andy's even gonna make it to Christmas this year. He's not doing so well."
And so Woody and all the toys are worried that Andy is gonna die, and they're not gonna have anyone to feed on anymore.
Well, I don't know, because I feel like you could go the route of this horror movie where, I mean, there's a birthday party at the very beginning. Maybe if by killing, I mean, if this is a horror movie, there's got to be some death in this fucking movie. Maybe by killing people, that is how they sustain their life force as well. Like they can only get a certain amount of it from drawing it from living people. But like, what if like the killing instance of it is what really gets them to stay alive for a long time, or really feel comfortable with their life force amount?
Okay, well, it could be instead of like killing Andy there near the beginning, like Andy's having his birthday party. He's pretty sick, but his mom still invites all his friends over, and they have a party. He gets Buzz Lightyear, and he goes and puts him in his room. But then as the kids hear the mom going, "Hey kids, come on down, it's time for cake and ice cream," one of the kids, as he's running out of the room, hears one of the toys whisper something. They're like, "Hey Billy," and Billy turns around. He's like, "Hello," and all the other kids are running downstairs, but it's like Pennywise, like luring Georgie into the sewer. But it's Woody, like his eyes just barely visible from inside the toy chest, and he's like, "Hey Billy, I've got a balloon for you in here."
And all the toys just jump him and just like fuck him up.
Yeah, like a Gulliver's Travels sort of scenario where all these little toys are just pinning this boy down, and then Woody goes up to his face, and like Woody puts his hands on the kid's forehead and recites some kind of chant, and the kid's soul like flows out of his body and goes into the toys, and they're like, life-sustaining life force.
I think it should be a thing where like not just his soul, but his whole entire body gets disintegrated and like gets absorbed into the toys. That way the movie can still go on, because it could have been like one of the things where the mom was like, "I don't know what happened. The kid was just right here," or whatever. And then you've got like the mom is putting up the flyers on the telephone pole or whatever, or it's on the milk cartons and everything of like this lost kid Billy who went to a birthday party and never came home.
Yeah, he was there one second, gone the next, and like when the toys are stealing his life force, his body like turns into a mummified husk and then just like fades away into all these dust particles. This is scary.
So I feel like the big thing that these toys should be trying to do is to kill Andy. I think that should be the ultimate goal, because I think that makes sense with the like kind of continuing the plot of the movie. Like that's the reason why Woody is trying to get to Pizza Planet, so he can finally finish him off once and for all. Or maybe Woody's goal is to kill Andy, but of course, since Buzz Lightyear is the toy that is everything good and everything positive, he's the guy that's like, "Whoa, man, don't be killing people," and he's the only one that's trying to stop them.
Maybe Andy can be like, the more he plays with the toys, the more his life force is sapped by them, but also the more power they can get from him. But once he reaches a certain age, like he's going to be playing with the toys less and less, so they're waiting for him to reach like peak kid playing with toy life force material, and that's when they plan to sap all of his life force away.
And now that he has had this birthday, he has reached the final age that is cool to play with toys. Because once you're a 12-year-old or whatever age, statistically you're not going to play with toys anymore. So it's time to suck out all of the life force from Andy, and move on to a new home to be able to do the same thing to another unsuspecting kid.
Right. So they drain the life force out of Billy, one of Andy's friends. And then all the kids are downstairs, and then all of a sudden the toys hear the sound of somebody up on the bed shifting around. So they look up and they're like, oh yeah, Andy got a new toy. And it's Buzz, who's just come to life. And he's his Space Ranger self. He's got this sense of morality that the other toys don't have. He thinks, oh, I'm here to protect people. I'm here to do my job as a Space Ranger. And so the toys try to tell him, like, here's what we're up to. We're gonna kill this kid. We're taking his life force. Yeah, are you in? And Buzz is like, I am a Space Ranger. I cannot abide by your evil plan, evildoers. And they're about to get into some kind of big fight. But then Andy is coming upstairs, so they all have to freeze or something.
Right, because it's the law of the toys. And it has to be something where the toys are ganging up to try to kill Andy. And there's a couple of situations kind of similar to the way that in Family Guy, Stewie was trying to kill Lois a bunch of times, but his evil plans were thwarted by something minor. It has to be something similar to that where... the toys are all trying to do some sort of elaborate plan to be able to kill Andy. You could even throw some Randy Newman in there with a cool song that's like a montage of attempts to kill Andy, but then Buzz thwarting it at the last minute so that it doesn't end up killing them. It ends up like oh man, I've got to be more careful or whatever, so that he's still totally unbeknownst that the kids are the toys are trying to kill him.
Buzz is just constantly thwarting their plans. And the toys can't do anything about it because, Woody has the power to bring life to them, but he can't just take that power back. But then Woody realizes his chance when one day Buzz is near the window, and this time Woody actually wants to kill Buzz. So he can do the same thing where he takes RC and just drives it straight into Buzz, but instead of having the thing where, like, the globe falls and whatnot, he just pushes Buzz right out the window.
He does it on purpose, yeah.
Right. And so, like, Andy's going to take Woody and he's going to go to Pizza Planet. And Woody thinks, like, even if we can't all kill Andy right now, I'm able to get the life force of another kid there at the Pizza Planet. And I can, like, bring it back to share with the other toys or something.
I'm still thinking that Andy is the ultimate goal at this point, because I think Woody is he's all about himself. I think that the other toys that are there is just kind of a means to an ends. I think that by Andy taking Woody with him to go to Pizza Planet, this is a way that he can draw all of the life force in for himself.
Oh, yeah. This is his, he realizes that he doesn't even need to share this with all the other toys.
This could be his moment where he goes and he kills Andy all for himself at Pizza Planet. But, of course, as we know from the original story, Buzz Lightyear, he gets into the vehicle, and that's when they start having it out, and they get knocked into, like, out of the car and into the gas station or wherever.
Mm-hmm. So now it turns into another, not a buddy situation, but two toys who have morally opposing viewpoints needing to rely on each other to make it back to Andy.
See, I don't know that I would go with that. I feel like it could be like a face-off situation where there's like a chase.
Okay, yeah.
Like trying to get back to the same place where Woody clearly finds the Pizza Planet truck that's going to take him to his destination, and Buzz is like also trying to like barely get there in time to be able to save him.
So they both take different routes, end up arriving at the same place, but they're both like trying to make it before each other. Woody so he can kill Andy, but Buzz so he can save him. So they each make their way to Pizza Planet, and simultaneously, like, one of them goes in the front entrance, maybe Woody hiding under a hamburger carton or whatever, and then Buzz sneaking in through an exit in the back of the restaurant. But they end up both seeing Andy playing at some arcade machine from opposite sides. Buzz sees Woody running towards Andy, like ready to sap his life force. Or maybe Woody has to kind of hide and wait for Andy to be kind of by
Waiting
himself.
for the opportune moment.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe Buzz sees Woody stationed somewhere, hiding at, like, staking out Andy, waiting for the opportune moment. And do we want to involve the alien minion creatures?
Yeah, we could keep that the same. It could be a situation where Woody is about to get to Andy, but Buzz comes out of nowhere and knocks him into the claw machine, and they're fighting in there.
And
that's when the neighbor kid comes and grabs them with the claw.
Yeah, they have to freeze because Sid comes up to the machine and, whoa, a Buzz Lightyear, no way. So he gets Buzz. Maybe Woody is still fighting Buzz, and as a result is still attached to Buzz in some way.
Yeah, Buzz grabs onto Woody so that he can make sure that he's got an eye on him, so that he doesn't go and kill Andy after having, gotten rid of Buzz once and for all.
Mm-hmm. And, like, Buzz at this point thinks that even if Andy makes it back to his house in one piece, the other toys might try to sap Andy's life force. So he's got to, like, try to get to Andy immediately and be with him every step of the way. But, of course, at this point, they're both trapped in Sid's room with no easy means of escape.
Right. Well, I'm curious if about the way that Woody's powers work. Is it a certain situation where, like, once you are given the touch of life that you're alive, or is it all about being around Woody that makes you alive?
I feel like it's got to be, like, once you're given the gift of life from Woody. This is making Woody out to be like an evil god. But once Woody gives them the gift of toy life, they have it from now on. Because...
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I was just saying, because if it wasn't that way, then whenever Andy got home, he would not have to worry about any of the other toys killing him, because, of course, Woody wasn't there, which meant that none of the toys could be alive to kill him. But it could just be that the toys they're like, oh, shit, what do? We don't know how to kill him without our leader, Woody, telling us every step of the way.
They don't know the secret technique of draining from the head or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I also think that the power needs to be constant, because if Woody and Buzz split up and go different routes to Pizza Planet, there's the chance that Buzz could, like, get out of range and just die.
Buzz would, but he would just have to make sure that he stayed within range of Woody, so he doesn't. I don't know. That could be another element, but it doesn't have to be. So clearly at this point, all of the crazy, ridiculous toys that Sid has in his room, Woody needs to bring to life on his own, so that he can utilize them to kill Buzz, so that he can get back to Andy, so that he can then kill Andy.
Right. So Woody sees these toys and he thinks, oh, good, more, like, minions, more underlings who can work for me. So he brings them to life and he tells them, this guy, Buzz, he's the enemy. He can't get in our way. If you join me, you can come over and we can kill your owner. We can kill Sid and take his life force. And then we'll go and get Andy, who's, like, has the most life force of any child, and we're going to get him at the peak of his powers. So maybe Buzz tries to talk to them, and some of the toys end up aligning with Buzz, and then other ones with Woody. So it's kind of like a war between these two toy factions.
Sure.
Okay.
But I feel like it still has to end up in the situation where Sid comes back in the room, grabs Buzz Lightyear with his fucking missile or whatever, and it has to be a situation, where he like, that thing still happens. I feel like ultimately Woody should kill Sid. And gain his life force, and because he's gained so much life force throughout the movie, I feel like there should be other killing situations where Woody is killed, like the pizza driver or something of the Pizza Planet car, so that he's, like, all powerful at this point, and he's on his way to kill Andy to top off the power of him being all powerful with all of the killings that he's done. But Buzz, of course, has to be able to stop him in some way. So where do we go from the spot where Buzz is now hooked up to a firework?
Well, are we still going to have Woody be the one who, like, launches this campaign to go save Buzz? Maybe he...
No, I feel like the Buzz is ultimately his enemy in this movie, and so he should just leave him there. So maybe we shouldn't have Buzz being strapped.
Maybe Woody, like, realizes that this is his chance to get rid of Buzz, and he wants to, like, be there and somehow help Sid without Sid knowing he's alive, and like make sure that Sid's plan all plays out perfectly. But in doing that, he inadvertently ends up throwing off Sid's plan and allows Bud to escape by accident.
So Buzz escapes, and because of how angry he is, he kills Sid, sucks out his life force, and uses that energy to be able to harness his powers to be able to find Buzz easier or something.
Right. That works.
At this point, of course, as we forgot last time, they were moving this whole time, and so the moving truck has got all the toys in the back, and they were thinking, like, maybe Andy's mom is thinking, like, oh, you know, this kid's really sick. Maybe it has something to do with the pollen count here, or with something to do with the house. Maybe there's asbestos in it or something. We need to move away, get into a new life for Andy so that he can live a normal life and not be so sick because the doctors don't know what's wrong.
Maybe their house in this neighborhood has become kind of like an urban legend where like everybody in the area knows that some kids, if they go into or near this house, they never come back, and nobody knows like where Billy. They've gone. Yeah, like Billy. Yeah, we've got an it scenario where kids are just going missing and nobody really knows like where the bodies are ending up, where these kids are going. They
are in the truck, and like moving away, and Woody is trying to get back to the truck so that he can kill Andy. Is he going after Buzz or is he going after Andy?
I feel like maybe he needs to use Buzz in some way to go after Andy. Like he realizes maybe he's watching Buzz he thinks Buzz is going to be killed by the rocket, but then he sees that the moving truck is already leaving and he's like, oh shit, the only way I'm going to catch up to that moving truck or Andy's car is by using that rocket that Buzz is attached to. Otherwise, Andy might be gone forever.
So he uses the match that Sid gave Woody earlier, and he lights the rocket, making sure, like, and aiming it so that Buzz and him, like, end up flying. He
can, like, jump off.
Yes, so that he can get a fast travel to get back to the car to the truck so that he can live to fight another day. But of course, this is where we find out that Buzz could actually fly all along, and so he was going to leave Buzz strapped to the rocket. He was going to jump off himself and then I don't know, somehow land on the truck or whatever. He was going to time it. I don't know. He whatever.
But maybe Buzz like refracts light from the sun and is able to burn through the rope and like also free himself. So he and Woody like fall through the air and they're going to land on top of the moving truck or on top of the car, and they're like punching each other and just holding onto each other as they're falling through the air for what feels like thousands and thousands of feet, but it's only like a 50-foot drop for the toys.
Yeah. I'm thinking that there should be like they land on the top of the moving truck, and there's like some sort of like last battle type thing where the two of them are fighting.
Yeah, they're each fighting. They're using their different powers. Buzz has like the newfangled technology where he's able to like, what if he was able to like ventriloquist his voice box? Like he pulls it out of his back and leaves it on one side of the truck and then presses a button and he's like, the Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. And then Woody turns around thinking Buzz is there, but Buzz is actually behind him and like tries to kick him off the truck.
I feel like it's got to be either the Woody's got to die here. I feel like to be able to end this movie.
Maybe Woody is going to die. Buzz is trying to incapacitate Woody, but Woody ends up like holding on to the side of the truck and he's going to fall off. And then Buzz ends up trying to save him. He like reaches for Woody and he grabs onto Woody's pull string. And then so like he's holding on to the pull string and Woody is like dangling down halfway down the moving side, the vehicle. And Buzz is like, I can't hold on. And then maybe Woody has, this is probably too like cheesy or cringy, but Woody has like a little bit of a change of heart. He's like, even though I'm evil, you tried to save my life. And he's like, let go, partner. And so Buzz, like with a sad tear in his eye, ends up letting go of Woody's pull string, and Woody like falls to the pavement in slow motion, falling to his death. And the pull string winds back up into his back, and he says one of his signature catchphrases as he dies.
Yeah. Someone's poisoned the water hole.
It's in like slow motion. There's sad Randy Newman music playing in the background. Someone's poisoned the water hole, and then right into the ground. Woody just smashes, and like his head pops off of his body, or like fractures and breaks into a couple of pieces.
So do we want to leave it where we see Woody die, or is it going to be one of those things where we see he's actually still alive somehow, and he comes back for Toy Story 2 to be able to take his vengeance on Buzz Lightyear and all the other toys?
Yeah, that'd be a good little stinger. Maybe after the end credits.
Yeah. Well, that would make sense with Toy Story 2 because, like, at some point in the movie, he gets repaired completely. So it could just be he's like completely like his body is like torn up, but his head itself is still intact.
Yeah, maybe like his body is there lying on the pavement, and he's effectively been destroyed. Like he doesn't have life being breathed into him anymore, and he lies there for a little while. But then later, Al of Al's Toy Barn is driving by, and he's like, "Oh my God, is that a Woody doll? That hasn't been manufactured in a decade." Picks it up and then goes and repairs him in his little toy shop.
That's like the after credits scene that leads into Toy Story 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dude, this is a fucking fun movie, man. I would watch this. Toy Story is a horror movie. This would work.
Yeah, I think so. I would totally watch it.
What should we call this movie?
I'm pretty sure you came up with a pretty fun title.
Oh, yeah. A little hook here, Toy Gory. But there has to be more blood. I feel like there wasn't enough death in this movie. I feel like
True.
If Andy doesn't die, like either more kids from the birthday party, like everyone who joined the birthday party at the beginning was killed, or at least some of the kids. I feel like there needs to be at least 5 people to die in this movie.
Well, we can have a kid die at Andy's birthday party. That's one. We can have a kid die. Well, we can have the Pizza Planet truck driver die at Woody's hands.
Okay.
We can have a kid die in Pizza Planet. Like, Woody's waiting for his chance to strike Andy, but he doesn't get it. But he does see some other kid by himself. Like, he's like, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be right back." And then Woody just, like, trips the kid and then steals his life force.
He kills Sid, which is number 4, and maybe it's like he's going for number 5. He needs to, like, the old toy gods have said that once you've killed 5 people, that then you can have the ultimate power. So killing Andy was going to be his last, like, hoorah to be able to become the all-powerful toy, but he doesn't end up being able to do so.
Maybe once you sap the life force of enough powerful, like, souls, you're able to stay animated for eternity, like, for as long as you want. Like, maybe they have enough life force to keep them alive for like a couple of hours every day. But if they take enough, like if they kill Andy at his peak, they'll have enough to keep living forever.
Right. I don't know, man. I think we've got something here. I think this could be something. So if you are a movie producer and you heard this idea and you're like, maybe, I don't know. Well, we could help flesh this out for you a little bit more to break the story a little bit bigger and make it so that it's whatever you want it to be.
Hey, Disney Pixar, if you're ever wanting to make an R-rated horror movie, we got your back. We got some ideas for you.
All right, well, that about wraps things up for us here at Genre Flip. Thanks so much for listening or watching, wherever it is you're watching it or listening to it. We appreciate it. Leave us a comment, subscribe, and definitely share it with your friends if you think they'd like it.
If you share it with some friends, that would be of a great benefit to us. And thank you for listening. We appreciate it.